The word of the day is I. One of the first words you learn in English is I because you use this pronoun to talk about yourself. This word is always capitalized. I am a teacher. After class ended, I went home. Where can I get some coffee? Pay attention to the placement of this pronoun when there's another subject in a sentence. You and I like to study English. He and I attend the same school. Mary and I went to a movie together. Notice that the pronoun I goes after the first noun or pronoun if it's part of a compound subject. Sometimes the pronoun I is used incorrectly. This is between you and I. Whoops, that's not correct. When a pronoun follows a preposition, it should be in the objective case. That's a rule of grammar. This is between you and me. Helen brought some coffee for me. There's a big truck behind me. The prepositions in each of the sentences above are followed by the object pronoun me. One more thing about the pronoun I. Some Americans intentionally don't use it because they think it's funny to use the object pronoun instead. Me want more coffee. Me hungry. Me no like. If you ever hear this, it's wrong. Why do some people say it? It's merely a playful form of expression. People who do this are just goofing around. Ice. Ice forms when water drops below 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. The word ice is usually used as a noun. Ice helps to keep things cold. Do you like ice in your drink? Jim likes to drink Pepsi with lots of ice. Be careful, there's ice on the road. Sandy put a bag of ice on her leg after she fell. The word ice is often used with other nouns to form compound nouns. She likes to eat ice cream. He likes to go ice fishing. He's wearing ice skates. He's ice skating. He has an ice pack on his head. The word icy is the adjective form of ice. The roads are icy this morning. If the sidewalk is icy, you might slip and fall. Mary gave the man an icy stare when he made an inappropriate remark. Idea. An idea is a thought that you hold in your mind. You have an idea. I've got a great idea. Hey, that's a good idea. She has some very good ideas. Good idea. Where do you get your ideas from? People in that organization have thought up some very good ideas. Our company welcomes new ideas. We're always looking for new ideas. Sometimes old ideas are better than new ideas. This word is used to express opinions or comment negatively on the quality of a person's thinking. You have no idea. Do you have any idea how difficult this is? Do you have any more bright ideas? Bad idea. Hey, there's an idea. That's not a new idea. Wow, great idea. Ideal. If something is ideal, it's nearly perfect, or a person perceives perfection. We also use this adjective when describing a situation or a thing that may exist only in the imagination. The doctor told Vicky that her ideal weight is 110 pounds. The agreement worked out by the two parties is not ideal, but it solves several problems. An ideal solution to the conflict is impossible. Tom and Rebecca believe they have an ideal marriage. The location picked for the construction of the building is less than ideal. Sam tried to be the ideal husband, but he could never live up to his wife's expectations, so they got a divorce. What is the ideal way to learn a new language? The word idealist is a noun that you can use when referring to a person. The word idealistic is an adjective. Joe is an idealist. He's hard to please because his convictions are so strong. When Jennifer started her career as a teacher, she was very idealistic. Now that she's older, she's more realistic about her role as a teacher. The company is very interested in finding a leader who's an idealist and an innovator. Identify. Use the word identify when describing, finding, or distinguishing the characteristics and qualities of a person or a thing. The police identified the stolen car. How many different trees are you able to identify? Can you identify the main verb in this question? We need to identify our main priorities when working on this project. Each child in the classroom identified a country on the map where their families were from before they moved to the United States. To identify with something or someone is to say that your experience or understanding is similar. We can all identify with someone who has experienced a tragic loss. Fernandez says he can easily identify with people who have had to relocate. Belinda says she doesn't identify herself with the members of that group. The noun form of this word is identification. The police made a positive identification of the car. The identification of different words in a sentence and the part of speech to which they belong is a good skill for a student to have. Do you carry any kind of identification with you? The abbreviation for identification is ID. Do you have an ID?
Idiom. An idiom is a small group of words that expresses an idea or an action. These expressions and phrases are so popular that most people don't think of them as unusual or confusing. However, people who learn the language in which the idiom is used find idioms to be quite confusing. Many idioms are formed with a verb and a preposition. Back up means to support. Do over means to repeat. Get along with is to have a good relationship. And pick out means to choose something. I'll back you up if you need any help. LaShonda asked the teacher if she could do the test over. Do you get along with your coworkers? Pick out something to eat from this menu. There are many different combinations of verbs, prepositions, nouns, adjectives, etc. that form idioms. However, the verb and preposition combination is perhaps the most common. It takes a long time to remember the hundreds of idioms in English, but it's necessary and it's a good use of your time.
Idiot. The word idiot is a popular word to use when describing a person as stupid or careless, or when expressing unhappiness with another person's decision. That idiot is driving the wrong way on a one-way street. Rosa says her boss is an idiot. He's an idiot for leaving his kids in the car on a hot summer day. What kind of an idiot would do that? There's an idiot down the street who cuts his grass at 7 in the morning. Everyone said that Ned was an idiot for what he did. The word idiocy is also a noun. It describes a situation. To continue doing the same thing over and over again, despite the negative consequences, is sheer idiocy. Human beings can't seem to shake the idiocy of war. The word idiotic is an adjective. That's an idiotic idea. Whose idiotic decision was this? Some idiotic people are making noise down the street. Sarah came up with an idiotic reason for leaving class early. This movie is totally idiotic. Idle. A person or a thing that is idle is not moving or is not busy. When the manager of the store noticed that several of his employees were idle, he gave them work to do. The plant had too many idle employees during the recession, so they were laid off. Farmers let their fields go idle in order to restore nutrients to the soil. That empty store has been idle for years. Idle inventory at a store is marked down until it finally sells. Boredom is the result of an idle mind. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. When the word idle is used as a verb, it's often in reference to a car that has its engine running, but it's not moving. In the winter, Dan lets his car idle for about 5 minutes before he drives it. Cars that idle for too long are ticketed by the police because they pollute the air. A thief stole a car that was idling outside of a gas station. It was easy to steal because the keys were in the ignition. If. The word if is a conjunction used for conditions and situations that may or may not be true. The word if also addresses possibility. Do you know if it's going to snow tonight? If they move to Houston, they'll sell everything they have. If your boss gives you a raise, will you work harder? Sonia doesn't know if she wants to get married right now. The ticket agent didn't know if the train would be on time. I can't help you if you don't study more. Hamdi isn't sure if she'll be able to immigrate to the United States. You'll notice that if comes before a clause. However, it's also possible to hear the word used as a noun in expressions like these. It's not a matter of if, but when. There will be no ifs, ands, or buts if you're late for work again. You will be fired. You might also hear the word iffy as an adjective. It's not a word I would choose when a situation is questionable, but you will hear it if you live in the US. They're kind of iffy on the colors for their living room. Carolyn is iffy about living in Florida. Jose and Myrna are still iffy about getting married. Whether or not we get a lot of snow tonight is still iffy. Ignorant. A person who does not have basic knowledge or is not aware of important facts might be labeled as ignorant. The driver claimed he was ignorant of the law when he was given a ticket by a police officer. Poor and ignorant farmers can benefit from organizations dedicated to helping them succeed. Some parents of teenagers prefer to be blissfully ignorant of what their children are doing when they go out at night. Be careful how you use this word. More often than not, people will be hurt and offended when they are said to be ignorant. Don't be so ignorant. Those people are ignorant. Henry doesn't enjoy working around people who are ignorant. When one man accused another of being ignorant, they suddenly got into a fight. The word ignorance is a noun. Your ignorance is showing. The man loudly proclaimed how proud he was of his ignorance. A police officer will tell you that ignorance of the law is not a proper defense. Some people will say that ignorance is bliss, but it's almost always a good idea to be aware of facts and information that affect you directly. The young boy was ashamed of his father's ignorance. Ignore. This verb is used when a person doesn't pay attention to another person or to a thing. Luke is ignoring complaints about his car. Tina ignored the person sitting next to her on the plane. Although he kept on talking, she didn't say a word. Don't ignore the law. You might get in trouble. You shouldn't ignore chest pain. It might indicate a serious health problem. It's hard to ignore the heat when it's over 100 degrees outside. Stop ignoring me and listen. A beggar approached a wealthy man standing in the street and asked for money, but he was ignored. Ill. A person who is ill is sick. The words ill and sick have almost the same meaning. He feels ill. If you're ill, you should just stay home and rest. An ill patient requires a lot of attention. I'm feeling kind of ill this morning. The word ill has other, slightly different meanings. Harold bears no ill will towards his ex-wife. Criminals buried their ill-gotten gains outside in the backyard, knowing that the bystanders could have saved that young woman's life and they did nothing, makes me feel ill. She's a woman of ill repute. Ill-informed voters helped elect a man who wasn't qualified for the job. The word illness is a noun. He has a severe illness. Mary is suffering from a mysterious illness. Mental illness is a problem that affects millions of people in the U.S. Illness from the Ebola virus is so serious that it can result in death. Image. An image is a picture. It can be real or imagined. What kind of image do you have of what a house looks like? You can see your image reflected in a window or a mirror. A film is a rapid series of photographic images projected onto a screen with light. Digital images are created by a computing device that converts them to visible light. Images of war and conflict on TV can have a negative impact on children. When I'm working on my website, I often insert images to help my students improve their vocabulary skills. You can easily find images of almost anything on the internet. The images captured on an old digital camera might be blurry. An image can also be a combination of a person's appearance and reputation. The young real estate agent felt her image could be improved by driving a Mercedes. Bob's tough guy image is softened by his interest in ballet. The company's image was damaged as it continued to produce faulty products. Some politicians are more concerned about their image than about how they are able to help their constituents. As more women enter the business world, the image of a successful executive is no longer that of a man. Imagine. To imagine is to use one's mind to think about possibilities. A person dreams about, visualizes, or considers something that does not exist right now. John Lennon imagined a world in which everyone could live in peace. The little girl likes to imagine that her stuffed animals are real animals and can talk. The little boy imagines that one day he will become a great soccer player. Imagine what you would do with your time if you had an entire month free from work or school. Imagine the possibilities. The word imagine is often used in sentences and questions in place of the word think. What do you imagine this might cost? I imagine she wants us to stay for dinner. How did they ever imagine they'd get this work finished on time? How does the new manager imagine his role in the company? The word imagination is a noun. James has a wild imagination. You have to use your imagination when considering the quality of the artwork. Sometimes her imagination gets the best of her. Let your imagination go wild. Use your imagination. Immediately. When something is needed immediately, it's needed right now. This is a very common adverb that indicates a situation is important and needs quick attention.
They needed to get their mother to the hospital immediately because she was having chest pains. You have to move these boxes immediately. Pedro took his car to a mechanic immediately after noticing the engine light was on. She must stop doing that immediately. We need to leave immediately. To make the adjective form for this word, drop the ly ending. This needs your immediate attention. They took immediate action to fix the problem. Their need for housing is immediate.
Immense. If something is immense, it's very, very big. The Grand Canyon is immense. The Milky Way galaxy is immense. Billionaire Mark Cuban lives in a mansion that is immense. An immense amount of information flows through the internet every day. The problems the country faces with its new president are immense. The children of the school had an immense amount of gratitude for their teachers. The sequoias found in California are immense. The word immensely is an adverb. Warren Buffett is immensely wealthy. Oprah Winfrey is immensely famous. Our team members are immensely happy with the progress we have made. We are immensely grateful for all of your help. Immigrate. To immigrate is to move from one country and then resettle in another country. Hundreds of thousands of people from around the world immigrated to the United States last year. Millions of people have immigrated to the United States in the last 10 years. Would you like to immigrate to the United States? A person who has immigrated legally to the United States may apply to become a U.S. citizen after 5 years as a resident. A person who immigrates is called an immigrant. Immigrants help provide a much-needed supply of labor. If you are an immigrant, be prepared to work very hard in the country that you move to. Life is not easy for an immigrant. I teach immigrants English in my classroom every day. The word immigration is a noun. Immigration provides a country with a diverse, multi-ethnic population. Immigration to the United States decreases when the economy is bad. Immune. The word immune is used when a person is protected from getting sick or protected in some other way. You can become immune to something by being exposed to it. Sheila is immune to chickenpox because she's already had it. Your immune system protects your body from diseases. An effective flu shot increases your chances of being immune to influenza. Political candidates and the general public eventually become immune to name-calling and the distortion of facts during the election season. The word immunity is a noun. Sheila has a natural immunity to chickenpox because she had it as a child. The defendant asked for immunity from prosecution in exchange for information about an organized crime ring. The word immunization is a noun, and immunization is an injection containing a weakened form of a disease. Another word for immunization is vaccine. Children receive many different immunizations before the age of 10. An immunization is not something to be feared, but many people don't like to get an injection. The word immunize is a verb. A medical team visited the village and immunized everyone against the disease. Have you been immunized for tuberculosis? Impact. Use the word impact when something or someone is affected or changed by another thing or another person. This word is similar to the word influence. In these examples, impact is a noun. The example set by Nelson Mandela has had a big impact on many people around the world. The speech on economic inequality made an impact on everyone who listened to it. Teachers try to have an impact on the students they teach. What kind of an impact did the presentation have on the audience? The moon shows evidence of impacts from comets and asteroids. The word impact can also be used as a verb. The loss of funding has negatively impacted the organization. Christmas shopping impacts sales totals for the entire year. The snowstorm impacted everyone who was in its path. Gilbert is worried that budget cuts will impact his job. The death of the little girls impacted the entire community. Important. When something is important, it's necessary, or it's something that we must pay attention to. It can't be forgotten. It must be remembered. The word important is an adjective which often goes before or after a noun. I have an important meeting this morning. This is an important game for the team. The students are taking an important exam next week. There was an important announcement on TV. Good health is important. Having loving relationships is important. Your education is important. It's important to keep your gas tank filled. It's important to save money in the bank. It's important to include vegetables and fruit in your diet. An important thing to remember is your Social Security number. Sometimes the word important is used to describe a person or a thing of cultural or historical significance. Albert Einstein was an important physicist. He developed some important theories regarding physics. The Beatles were an important group of musicians. Their music is considered important to the history of popular music. The Empire State Building is an important building in New York City. Mount Rushmore, which features the faces of 4 past U.S. presidents, is an important monument. The word importance is a noun. She's a woman of some importance to her company. His contributions are of enormous importance to the team. The importance of this report cannot be underestimated. The word importantly is an adverb. Having access to quality healthcare is necessary, but more importantly, people must learn to monitor and maintain their personal health. Your friends will say